still, kneeling together for the nightly rosary, making great efforts to keep away the Sandman. These are all most pleasant memories to recall of a very happy childhood. But in contrast to this, I cannot help seeing the remainder of that happy family now separated from each other, of course only by distance of a few hundred miles at the most. And I wonder what we would have thought 6 years ago if anyone should have told us all this world have told us all this would have come to pass. It's one of your special responsibilities now to keep up that former unity by writing, advice, prayers, and so forth. So actually it was a very close family, and the fact that they nightly all knelt together and said the rosary, which takes quite a long time, was really pretty amazing. So, twin sisters, Catherine, Irene, lovely one. Kay McCormick. That's Auntie Kay was the one who somehow or other knew Daddy, and so she was in a movie. She met the College Club. Well, I've told you all this. Okay. Anyway, so Daddy came along, and he was born in really country life. His tales of his childhood were always totally enchanting to us. And Mother, I don't know, she never particularly entered into it, but they were typical small town, 1800s. He was born in 1882. Small town. I think the circus would come to town, and he would climb down out of his bedroom window and sneak down and bring water to the elephants, when he was supposed to be in bed sleeping and things like that. And then he had these absolutely marvelous tales to tell about the characters in the small town, the town drunk and the town just funny, gossipy, the town characters. And it was sort of just they were wonderful small town, late 19th century stories of a life that had completely disappeared. Right. And I remember after he retired from his work, begging him to write these things down, because I thought it would be a really interesting time. And he wrote very well, he expressed himself very, very well. And I thought this would be a great thing for him to do in retirement. And like me, he never got to it. This sad thing was that Dad and I didn't have a tape recorder. We didn't really have much of anything. But tape recorders had been invented by then. Right. And we could have just talked to him and recorded these wonderful, wonderful stories. They were humorous and delightful, and he told them wonderfully. And he just got a big kick out of them. Mother always thought they were sort of not low class, but she was a bit of a snob.
Right. And you said his father might have worked in a bar or something.
Well, I think owned a bar. Okay. But I think his father died when he was fairly young, and his mother carried on. And then he had a brother and a sister, Uncle Tom and Aunt Rose. And then I think his mother died when he went to a place called Christian Brothers School, which was, I guess, a very good boarding school. But he didn't go to college, and he had to take care of, because his mother and father were dead, of his brother and sister, Uncle Tom and Aunt Rose. And I don't know, I have records here someplace of the building, the places that he worked. But in any event, he very soon worked his way up or showed his real capability in the business world, because he did in very short orders.
As an engineer, or?
No, he wasn't an engineer.
No.
Let me see. I should sort these things out. By the time he had met Mother, whoops. Oh, that's also Daddy. Mother. By the time he'd met Mother, he was working for the Red Cross Christmas Roll Call in 1918 in New York. And in one of the letters, he's talking about leading the parade on Fifth Avenue. The Vice President of the United States, Thomas Marshall, had come up, and he and Daddy led the grand parade down Fifth Avenue. And he raised $500,000 in that roll call, which, today, $500,000
right.
in
Big
those
deal,
days,
yeah.
$500,000. Incredible, totally incredible.
And roll call, what does that mean?
Well, it was whatever the Christmas roll call. It was a benefit event to raise because the war was still going on then, World War I.
Yeah.
So he was never drafted. He was never in the army because he had to support his brother and his sister, who were younger than he, and so he never was in the army. Mother and Daddy met in Northampton. There's a letter from the Draper Hotel on July. One letter that he wrote was July 4th, 1919. They had gotten engaged on a night in July. Okay. And, well, anyway, so I'm jumping ahead, but someplace here I have a whole thing I copied from the Who's Who. Okay. Schooling. Oops. You see how just the idea of wonderful tales of small town 19th century, sneaking out the window, tried to get him to write me down. Okay, schooling, Christian Brothers Academy in Albany, and maybe sometime at New York University. He didn't go to college as he was responsible for his university. I remember hearing he embarrassed my mother once at a very fancy party years later when they were married, when somebody asked where he'd gone to college, and he said he'd attended the College of Hard Knocks. And, it might have been in Greenwich where the dinner party was, and everybody had been to Yale or Princeton or Harvard or something like that. And Mother was embarrassed by that. She really was kind of a snob. And anyway, don't know how, when his parents died, he looked after his brother. And there's no mention of any extended family or cousins there. So in the Who's Who in New York in 1929, that's 9 years after they were married, he's listed as the president and director of the Fox Brothers and Company Incorporated, the son of John and Mary Ann Riley. That's without the O. His grandfather was Johann von Teal from Freiburg, who left Germany in 1848. Okay, so that was his grandfather at the time of the revolutions. Heard he was a tall, red-headed activist and had to leave the country. Daddy once tried to get in touch with any possible ancestors or relatives one time when he was on one of his trips to Europe. And he'd heard there was a bronze statue in one of the town squares which was taken down and melted for bullets, either for World War I or for the